Football follows basketball. Build the program.
I mean, hopefully, Jim Larinaga is a Hall of Fame coach. I think that Mark Cristobal still has a ways to go to get there. But, when left to his own devices without a bullshit inclusion in a NCAA scandal of which he was fully exonerated and Miami was fully exonerated and everything to ruin multiple recruiting classes and the timeline of this program, you see what he's been able to do and accomplish. Like, just left to his own devices without the NCAA meddling. Jim Larinaga is a pretty damn good coach, guys. So, hopefully getting his own players in, getting coordinators to really buy into what we're doing here and everything, Mario Cristobal hopefully will be able to prove that as well. But yeah, and towards building this program, I think going back to the earlier soliloquy that I had, spring football and the development of the skill of the players on the roster from top to bottom is integral into that pursuit and performance moving forward.
Nefarious coming back with Cam spitting fire.
Hot fire.
And because you sent us that super chat there, Nefarious, I see your other question here. Cam, does Miami have to win 9-10 this year? I don't necessarily understand the question. Have to win 9-10 this year, but take it.
Have to win? No. Would love if they did, yes. But I mean, you really have to look at the 2022 season as a year zero. We're doing whatever, and we're tearing it all the way down to the foundation and going to rebuild. So you want to see a step forward, obviously. I don't think that it is mandatory for 9-10. Definitely Mario Cristobal is not going to be on the hot seat if we don't win 9-10. I mean, as in, he will not be fired this year. Now, obviously, there will be, if there's another 5-7 or a 4-8, shout out to the University of Florida for that, and other things of that nature, the discontent of everyone will be palpable. But absent a 9 or 10 win season, we're not talking about he's going to pack his stuff, So if you're looking at it from that prism, I don't think that it's necessary for there to be growth of the program towards, a conference championship or, playoff berth or something like that. Again, while I would love it to be linear, as in we were at 5-7 and then we're at 9-3 and then we're at 11-1. I would love that kind of progression. But again, I don't necessarily think that is realistic because, development is always progressional, whether it's in whatever arena. And, as someone with the education degree and 15 years of, more than that, if you take into account tutoring and, summer camps and things like that, but a long history in education, trust and believe that growth and development is progressional, The one thing that's different than that is like, having a growth spurt and like, puberty and growing height, but other than that, developing a skill or something is progressional. Some days it's going to be there, some days it's not. And it's going to, maybe 4 steps forward, 1 step back, another 4 steps forward, but that's the progressional nature of things. So yeah, I mean, you can still have that. So you can even have an 8-win season this year, lose a couple games that were winnable, but learn along the way, take those growing pains, dang, we could have had 10, but we dropped these 2 because we didn't execute whatever, and then come back and grow from that next year. So the have to part of your question is really what I'm talking about. I mean, would I love Miami to win 9 or 10 or more? Hell yeah. I went to Miami, go team fight. Absolutely. But I don't think, for the, professional fortunes of the coaching staff or, whatever prospects the players have, it's not a requirement like that, even though it is a goal, so like we don't have to, but we should aspire to and hopefully work towards that. But I don't think that the season would be a failure or anything like that if Miami failed to win 9 or 10 games, even though obviously we want more. And I know that people just heard me say, wait, if we're saying that means 7-6 or like 8-5 is a positive step forward. Yes, it is. And it's not it's not the best, and it's not what we all want. We, myself included, I want more than that. But if it's 8-5 for the bowl game, 8-4, we don't get to the conference championship game and we lose the bowl game, it wouldn't be my favorite thing. But sitting here a year from now, we would inexorably say that was a step forward from 5-7. And that's what I mean by that. So there's still room for positive growth short of the 9 or 10 that you're saying. But I myself personally would like 9 or 10. Shit, I want to go 12-0. I don't know what we're talking about, but like I don't necessarily think that that's realistic where we are in the terms of the development of this program. But yeah, you can still feel good about the projected path forward if we fall short of 9 or 10 wins, if that makes sense. But that's a really good question.
Yeah, for programs like Miami, fill in the blank, Florida State, Texas, that have been down, there's a clear difference between understanding where you are and seeing a win total as a step of progress, a great indicator of progress versus what the standard is. The standard is something completely different. The standard is competing for national championships.
Right.
But that can't necessarily always be achievable based where you are currently.
Right.
And just to extend on Cam's earlier point, I think a strong indication of this program underachieving is the team that wins the Coastal Division has not necessarily been a world beater, but that has been the standard in the division just by definition of that team, you know, by objective measures has proven to be the team to win the most games out of 8 in the conference, et cetera, and win the games. But in the 2018-19, take out 2020 because there were no divisions, the 2018, 19, and 21 seasons, when Miami was on the field with said team that won the division, Miami won the game. So it would follow that they should be able to defeat the other teams that the team that won the division was able to defeat.
And there's that right there shows the inconsistent nature of the performances on the field for the Miami Hurricanes, right? So if we eliminate some of the head scratching bad losses, right, then all of a sudden you're going in that direction. So again, that can be, it would be tangible as in on the win and loss record, right? But that's the intangible thing of for years you're saying, okay, there's going to be a bad loss, right? We're going to probably lose, Clemson on the schedule, we're losing to Clemson. It's a toss up against Florida State, Texas A&M, and then maybe a bad off the radar loss. Last year there were lots of off the radar losses, but eliminating those and taking that step forward, I know that, they feel holier than thou and everything now, but what I just described, those bad losses that ruin seasons, that was the literal definition of Clemsoning, guys, for years, right? Clemson's really good. And then Clemson and lost to whatever, before Sam Hartman was there, Wake Forest back in the day, or they lost to they had a crossover against Georgia Tech. They play Georgia Tech every year, but they lose to Georgia Tech. They lost to a bad insert team here, and it's they could have been better, and they had this 8-4, 9-3 season, but Clemson. That's what it is, and I hate to say it, but it's been so pervasive that it's Clemsoning was the one a year. This game ruins our season year, right? Our game, that was the Clemsoning. It's been so many. It's oh well, Middle Tennessee, that was one, and you know what I mean? But getting rid of those would be a clear step forward. Just not, like I said it before, not playing down to the level of our opponents, and we did that over and over. Even last year, you saw that. You saw playing down to or below the level of our opponents. Respectfully, they're a fine team, but Southern Miss 30-6. What? Down going into the half until a late touchdown. Excuse me? Are you joking me with this rock? Come on. No, that's no. Well, they ran Wildcat with Frank Gore Jr. in the first game, so we only prepared for that. It didn't prepare for them to actually run offense. You sound stupid. You didn't prepare. You didn't prepare at all for them to run base offense at all. Cool. Middle Tennessee had a once in a 90-year passing performance. That was the outlier of all outliers. I have never seen an outlier outlie more than that one outlied.
Yeah.
It was, I still got the tweets somewhere. It was, I forget who I was. It was a bunch of different stat outlets. They're we haven't seen this since we've been around. We haven't seen this in 90 years. We haven't seen
multiple 85+ yard pass plays. It just happened.
4 of them. I want to say it was all those things, the run after catch, the 85-yard passes, the multiple 90-yard passes, the things like that. They're we haven't seen this kind of explosive passing against anybody since, Jesus, World War One. What do you? I don't know. Like literally, but like that's where you play down to and below the talent on the other roster, and then it was so outbalanced that they had a once in a lifetime, a literal once in a lifetime since World War One kind of passing performance. What are we talking about? But unfortunately, there's that, and there's other ones that we can point to with Miami. We need to start to get those out of our system, and then be able to move forward.
8 turnovers against Duke. Who turns the ball over 8 times? The worst teams in America don't turn the ball over 8 times.
Don't. Program record, like as far as we could see, because they didn't even like the sports information department. They said, literally, because we were in the press box and we're going down and asking them, like, hey, one of the head individual, his name is Cam. So every time somebody asks him a question in the press box, my head snaps up. I'm like, oh, you're talking to the one who works for the athletic department. Right. And like literally, like, I remember multiple people were like, oh, hey, so Cam, and they walked over there. You hear him. So like 8 turnovers. And like, of course, when it's great, they're, hey, they're walking down. They got a little handout. They're sending the emails. They got the Mr. Jackson, who does the in press box announcements, who worked at South Miami when I was student teaching in Miami a while, like many, many moons ago. Ironic, but whatever. But they're feeding it to him, and he's, members of the media, I just wanted to let you know. There 8 turnovers happened, and multiple people walked over there. Hey, Cam, I was just wondering. When he responds to that question, I'll let you know, because he hasn't. And I mean, like I said, I was there, I was looking, I heard multiple people ask it. Like, okay, cool. So like we're literally all on, the interwebs and everything. I found the games that were closest in terms of interceptions thrown. It was like the last 2 games of 1942 or something stupid like that. But the individual turnovers were not listed. So it was like, we threw 6 interceptions. I know that we threw 6 interceptions in this game. So that matches that. I don't know if there were other turnovers in this 6 interception game. So I don't know, but like things like that. But again, the stats that I just quoted were from since World War I and 1942. Have not seen the like of in that time. Those are the kind of performances that I would love to not ever see again in my lifetime. But again, and those are always on the bad side, or it seems to be recently. And yeah, those kind of things are definitely not helpful to the performance of the Miami Hurricanes.